influencers' roles in modern day marketing, video game development studios. I thought it'd be really cool to basically go through, start off a game design series, but do it with the casual side. So we're looking at it from a anybody can understand it, anybody can jump into this sort of topic, and it seems that everybody has an opinion with it, which is really good. So yeah, we're going to look at how content creators, etc., are involved with game development. Should they be a bit more into it? So it's kind of like an open discussion. So I thought that'd be kind of cool way to do it. So let's dive into it. Cool. Social media has transformed game marketing. Oh, there we go. Over the last decade, the way video games are marketed has changed dramatically. So one thing that, like, even for myself, is that we see platforms such as Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Kick, and the list does go on, Instagram included, etc., sometimes Facebook Reels. They fundamentally altered how players discover video games, and instead of polished trailers that you'd see on TV or on YouTube, etc., it's now posted everywhere, and you get real interactions with content creators. So people can actually interact with it through live streams, etc. And I think that's a really, really cool way of discovery. And it's one of the things that's only been around for a few years. Like streaming's been around for, I guess, like 10-ish, a little over 10 years, especially with like video games, etc. But what I think is like really fun with it is it's totally changed the way that, like, for example, that I and many of my friends and others used to discover video games. We used to see that the trailers on TV and you think, oh, wow, the new Call of Duty game looks really cool. I've seen it on TV. And while there are still adverts out there for it, a lot of it has largely changed. And I think from an indie developer point of view myself, I think that the direction with content creators is a very interesting one, to say the least. So we're looking at traditional discoveries such as your TV adverts, magazine reviews. Now, this one is a real throwback because you just don't even see magazines, especially for like new upcoming games anymore, especially with like new platforms that mean games come out of anywhere, everywhere. It's a totally changed world. Instead, we're looking at like creator discoveries. This is live streams, short form clips, your TikTok feed, your YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, all of that stuff. You've got genuine reactions and some really, personable level content rather than marketing in such an older and potentially outdated medium, sorry. But yeah, this is what we're going to look into, and I think it's a really, really cool topic. So the result, for many studios, influencers are now the most effective launch channel available. And there's even one topic that's sort of come up after this presentation was made, because I made it about a week ago-ish. Basically, there's an update with a newer game that I think is really interesting. And if you've kept your eyes on indie games this week or so, there's one that I think is pretty good. It's pretty good, but we'll get into that because we have a couple case studies in here with a couple of like games that I quite like, and specifically we'll also reference a couple streamers and a term I saw floating around, and I thought it was quite an interesting topic to like deep dive into. So traditional game marketing before social media became dominant, which it's taken over. I mean, we've all spent way too many hours doom scrolling. Publishers spent millions reaching audiences through established media channels. Large producers such as EA, Ubisoft, and Activision, or as I think a lot of people like to call it, Ubisoft, but either way, they invested heavily in television commercials, magazine advertisements, billboards as well. Like that's something that they still exist, but you don't really. Myself personally, it's not really something I look at. Same with retail displays. It's all on digital. Journalists from outlets like IGN, GameSpot, and Eurogamer were invited to exclusive previews, and review scores carried enormous influence over buyer decisions. So these are more of the how it used to be. But now there's a whole new world, a much more personalized experience with marketing, which is it's actually a lot of fun, and it works for independents like streamers, content creators, and it also works really well for indie developers that maybe don't have a budget, but we'll get more into that in a minute. So we've gone through our TV adverts, press previews. They're always really good. Independent developers need to have a press packet ready so you can hand it out to whatever bit of press you're doing, whether it is for something bigger, like a proper paid for advertisement, or you also get like media kits ready to hand out to streamers and YouTubers, etc., because their discovery is ultimately really, really good too. Gaming magazines, print coverage and review scores shaped purchasing decisions. Same with like TV shows, really. Like you've seen like Rotten Tomatoes or Tomatoes, whatever. But yeah, like all of these things definitely have had their day, but that commercial world has changed largely, and I think it's a really good thing to like review and update ourselves on currently. So, the rise of content creators. This is related to the COVID-19 pandemic, which is a huge turning point. During lockdown, millions turned to online entertainment. Twitch reported record-breaking viewing figures in 2020, while YouTube gaming and TikTok content experienced explosive growth. Like where everybody was stuck at home, you'd see everybody, even people you didn't know were gamers, start to like stream playing games if they were gamers. And personally, like what I thought was really interesting with it, and it might be the same for you guys, but you've seen people that would never play video games. Like I've got friends and family, like grandparents, etc., and they've never done anything to do with like video games or anything like that. But all of a sudden, people have started to play games for the first time. Like, for example, I remember talking to my mum with like COVID, and she's like, oh, I can't do anything. And in the end, she decided to, oh, well, to be fair, I suggested like Heyday, for example, just a normal farming game. I thought that would kind of suit the entertainment. And with COVID, she's now become a daily player of the game and hasn't missed a day for like 6 years, which is wild for someone who, I don't know, I couldn't ever fathom seeing them play games before. So COVID was like massive for this. It exploded this whole like genre of like content creators like to levels that were just way, way, way higher than they ever were before. And yes, there is a decline since, but it's still a very, very popular and trusted like media source for it. So audiences gravitated towards creators they already trusted rather than professional reviewers. This is what's the important part to it. So you'd rather, and it might be the same, but a lot of people would rather go to a live stream and check out somebody playing a game for a few minutes, or would watch a YouTube review of it or a summary or something similar, rather than just go off of big adverts that maybe just show trailers. If you think about it, like more often than not, most games that you see, if you think about a Call of Duty trailer, they mostly will just show you cutscenes and like pre-rendered stuff. It's not like actual gameplay to see how it plays, and it's an experience between you and advertiser. And streaming and YouTube made it totally different because you can watch somebody actually play these games, and you can watch it as much or as little as you wanted to avoid spoilers, etc. But the actual personalized like interaction where you can ask them questions like, is this game worth $20? Is this game worth, a tenner? And that experience, I think, has fundamentally changed how this could work, and is definitely helped push indie games especially into like a mainstream light, which is really good because it goes to parasocial communities, and it's most importantly like it's an authentic word of mouth. Viewers don't feel like they're being sold a product this way. It's not being like, hey, here's a big budget, buy our game. It's now, hey, how do you like this game? And you might have someone who has 10 viewers and they'll give you the most honest reviews in the world. And I think that's a really like nice personalized way to advertise your games. When I started to do my university like degree, and we went to pitch our like final major projects, and we did an independent game with a friend, and basically like marketing for us was more, again, this is like 2017ish, so it was largely pushed again towards traditional means. And if we were to do that again, the whole side of this changes. And there's a few case studies we're going to get into in a second that will show just how explosive this growth can be. So why does this matter for creators? The old question was, how do we advertise our game? So this is your traditional means of like, what do we do? Do we run ads online, on websites? Do we try and find a budget for, a TV advert, which is incredibly expensive? But the new question is, which creators would enjoy our game the most? In other words, who will it fit? Can I make a puzzle game, for example, and find the perfect content creator to push it out there? Because if you got the right audience, your game is going to be directly going to the audience, and exclusively to the audience that you want it to. You're not wasting budget on it. And again, the budgeting to that comes into this in a second. But you get a really personalized level of like marketing, advertising, either good or bad. You can get most honest reviews out of it, and people get a good shot to see what they actually think of the product, which is really, really good. So modern consumers are increasingly resistant to traditional advertising. Research consistently shows that recommendations from trusted individuals are far more persuasive than corporate messaging. This is what we're saying. Like, the content creators have a level of trust with their audiences, especially if they don't just throw random ads and commercials at you. They have a much stronger build with a community, with an audience, and that level of like trust in, should we buy this game? Should we try this game? It can't be topped. It really can't. So yeah, it's now an essential part of marketing competency for game studios. Every game studio now has like partner programs. If you've seen like, 2K games, they do all sorts of marketing well, partner programs, to be fair. They've had like I think it's called the 2K Next Makers, or at least it used to be. So they would have, creators come in, play games early, get early access to the gameplay, and that was their free marketing. They just advertised it as, hey, do you want a day trip to our office sort of thing? And, people come in and get to play games early. And that feedback, honestly, some of the videos that would come out of products like that actually outperform the trailers itself, the official ones, which is quite wild when you think about it. So it's the changing viewing habits. So traditional television audiences have steadily declined. People like on demand, particularly among younger demographics. According to Ofcom, adults aged 16 to 24 now spend considerably more time watching online video than traditional television. I mean, I don't fit in that demographic personally, but I can also vouch for this. I don't watch mainstream TV. I watch like on demand stuff, streaming services, or I just find something to put on YouTube in the background because I don't know. It's easier. It's personalized. I don't know. It feels like it's more for me. Not exclusively, but it's a nice change. Gaming audiences consume long form live streams, reaction videos, let's plays, short form clips from across multiple platforms every single day. So look at what we got here. Point one, less TV. Linear broadcasts audiences decline year on year, especially in the under 35 category. So younger people just don't have a way to really want to watch, you know, if you're not watching TV, that budget's going somewhere else. And you got to think about it. Is the game that you're advertising going to be fit to be advertised on television anymore? If you've got very few of the demographics, say like 16 to 24-year-olds watching TV, and that's your game's demographic, that's wasted advertisement. You have to move to the new platforms. More YouTube tailoring. Long form gaming content, reviews, and retrospectives dominate watch time. You can see, and if you've ever looked around the gaming space on there, there's like massive names for the industry. There's Markiplier, who's just gone out and made like a really big movie that actually, I think it was like one of the best performing movies in America. And he's come from just doing gaming videos, which when you think about it, like how has someone started in their room? Like we're all sat here in our rooms and they've put a camera on and they've decided to film and they've built it into something that's made like $50 million as a movie, all independent as well. But that kind of content, that personality really does show through. And examples like with Mark and his movie really show the level of connection people have with their audiences. Same with Twitch. Live streaming creates real-time communities, events around game launches, etc. So you can come on like, oh, we got big update this week for game, all sorts of stuff like that. It's all in the same sort of platform. TikTok is the same. It's your primary short form content platform. It's got a huge user base, but anybody on there, you can live stream on there. People in that sort of community will just push ridiculous views and you get such a built-in community. People always asking what game this is or something along those lines, and it's kind of the ideal spot that if your game takes off with TikTok or something like that, or streamer clips, for example, are sometimes hilarious and they outperform the game's official posts. TikTok can really make or break your game, and this is some of the examples that we have coming up actually as well. So as a result, creators are now where gaming audiences spend the majority of their leisure time, making them an indispensable channel for studios seeking visibility. So again, gaming audiences are getting broader and broader. We were talking about this with the COVID part of the presentation. So gaming has become mainstream. If my mum's playing Heyday, then something's exploded in the gaming industry because she's finally figured out how to use the iPad, which I thought was just the funniest thing. Many people who grew up on a PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360, Nintendo DS are now adults with disposable income that we obviously spend very responsibly and not at all on DLCs. So creators have aged alongside their audiences, meaning that influencer marketing now reaches consumers across a wide spectrum of purchasing. I realize that being now like around 30, the people that I will watch for games are going to be different to the rest of them, for example. So you got teenage audiences, say, for example, 13 to 17, early adopters discovering new genres through creator recommendations. 18 to 24 is core gaming demographic. They have potentially got disposable income being between 18 and 24. 18, maybe not. It depends on if they've got their first jobs, but you can have people that can go out and start to buy the games. So again, a good demographic to target right there for your game's release. You've got the millennial generation, which I'm now right in the middle of. So grew up gaming, which we did. Significant disposable income and brand loyalty. So we've picked our favorites basically by this point. We're getting a little bit old. We like our ways. We're kind of going to we're going to kind of sit with what we like. Like, yeah, I know I don't like Fortnite, for example, but I like to see, a good story game, or I like a good simulator game. And you do tend to find creators that do exactly that. And you'll find maybe a streamer that's a little bit older and they start going through all the simulator games. And when you think about that, if you find a streamer, for example, or a YouTuber that just covers simulator games or cozy games, you're going to watch everything that they're playing and you're like, oh, I really like this, power wash simulator. It looks really good. And all of a sudden you're into it. You think, you know what, I'm going to buy this game. I've seen him play it. It looks fun. That's what I'm going to do. Because you can see their genuine, interaction with it. Mature gamers, which is 35 plus. God, I'm getting close to that bracket. Nostalgic, high spending audience reached by creators like Voice Critical. There's a lot of creators that we're going to talk about in this as well. So we've got creators such as CaseOh, Jynxzi, some of the younger ones I've had to Google. But to be fair, I've seen them quite a few times now at this point. But those three, each command audiences spanning multiple age groups, demonstrating that influencer reach is no longer limited to just a teenage demographic. I've seen that Jynxzi and CaseOh have become the two biggest creators on Twitch, for example, and Voice Critical is one of the biggest, like, long-term, I think, streamers for YouTube. They have really, really interesting stories, I feel, to do with the marketing side of these games. And we're going to go through them, and it's going to be, there's bits on the presentation, but we're going to go through it. I think it's, again, you're welcome to weigh into any of this, but we'll do some questions at the end. But there's some really, really cool case studies with these guys specifically. So our first case study is Schedule One, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Schedule One, but it's an 18+ game. It's based on running your own drug business and everything like that. It's a really silly little indie game, and it was made by one person. That's your fun fact for this. One individual person who's actually a university student. He made a game. So Schedule One is one of the most compelling examples of why influencer-driven success is so important. The small indie title received virtually no traditional advertising because the guy who made it is a student. They don't have thousands of pounds to spend on advertising. And, big creators such as CaseOh, Voice Critical played the game in front of hundreds of thousands of average viewers. And it's made, so many clips that were posted on TikTok, on YouTube, and again, you can watch it live. But that's generated so much buzz and attention on this game entirely for free. Just because the game was fun, the bigger creators happened to pick it up. It's gone viral on social media, and it's made the game sell like crazy. And we are going to get into that too. So creator streams, top tier creators played the game, to massive live audiences, generating immediate organic interest. There's a viral clip loop. There's so many clips that go out on this one. Some of the clips from this game, like random TikToks, have more than 20 million views per random clip. And I think that's actually insane when you think about it. Like, you've made a game in your room on your own, and then and again, no budget to advertise it. You just made it for fun, and then you see big streamers pick it up, and all of a sudden you're scrolling your own TikTok feed and you've got 20 million views on a game that you've made, and you think, how has this happened? But it's really, really cool. So developer recognition, the developer included in-game references to creators, sparking a feedback loop of even more coverage. So for example, specifically with Schedule One, there is a CaseOh reference, and a lot of indie games are starting to put him in there. He's showing up in quite a few of them. Maybe it's a way of them trying to entice him to play the game, potentially. But in this one, for example, there's a spray painted graffiti on the wall, and it's a reference to one of the TikTok clips. I think there's a character in the game, and I believe it was Jynxzi is the character name, and she's a really interesting character. She was always the funniest one, or the one that people interacted with the most in the game. And CaseOh just made a joke about it or two, and was just like, "Oh, she's my favorite. I'm gonna look after her. Jynxzi, you're safe with CaseOh." And the developer actually added a little Easter egg into the game of CaseOh as a spray paint graffiti next to Jynxzi. And again, that goes viral. The game kept going viral. He went back to see the Easter egg himself while he was live with 50,000 plus people at least. And then the clips of that get millions more views. And, it absolutely spiraled. And that's what we're going into with the next part. So the sale impact of this. Creator exposure translated directly into extraordinary commercial success. Schedule One there was a reason I picked this game. So with a marketing budget that was a fraction of what was comparable to a AAA title that you could spend, it's the new age content creator marketing. It's nothing. It's not approaching the traditional marketing sense. Schedule One, because of all these clips, managed to actually achieve over 450,000 concurrent players on Steam, which is a ridiculously high number of players, nearly 500,000 people playing the game at the same time around the world. And that's absolutely crazy. And the thing about it as well is that it sold millions of copies in total. And this game wasn't cheap. Schedule One cost, I think it was $20 around that sort of price point, which is really, really high. Some people will want to go cheaper for an indie game, maybe $5 to $10. But Schedule One pushed for $20, and despite that, the popularity of the game, the clips, everybody wanted a piece of it. You could play it with your friends, and that was massive. So the marketing budget, visibility came from almost entirely through the creator point of view. It's your streams, it's your clips, etc. There was nothing in the sense of like pay television or display campaigns. What was interesting with Schedule One, it's a, as it says at the bottom here, it's an extraordinary return on investment that creator-led marketing can deliver, particularly for independent studios without a large advertising budget. So in total, I'm not sure the most recent statistics for it, but this, again, this was a game made by one person who I think is doing an engineering degree still currently. I'm pretty sure he's Australian. I wouldn't quote me 100% on this one, but I've only seen a little bit of it. But he made this game for fun, you know, as not even for a part of a unit or anything like that, just did it for something to do while he's doing his studies. He wanted to do the programming, everything along those lines. It goes up, it goes viral. He's selling the game on Steam for $20, and I think now it's sold like 16 million copies, and the guy's made over 100 million, etc. There's still Steam's like takeaway from it, but multi-millionaire from this. Now able to build, and his plan is to continue developing this game and build it into his own development studio and actually be able to take on full-time employees. And again, all well, maybe 20 years old ish around that point. It's absolutely crazy how this world changes. And we do have a different story towards the end with a game that came out this week that's very similar to that. Interesting though, the reason this whole sort of topic caught my eye was something that I'd seen floating around on the internet when I was looking at like content creators and stuff for this sort of point of view. There was something, a term quoted as the Jynxzi effect. Jynxzi being one of the streamers and the most popular one, I think, on Twitch currently. But it was about him reviving a game. And that's what the question is. Can one content creator revive an entire game franchise? Well, it turns out, yes, they can, which sounds absolutely mind-blowing because it is. So there's two instances where this is relevant, and there's quite an interesting one to it. So Jynxzi became one of Twitch's biggest creators through Rainbow Six Siege content, which is a Ubisoft, I think it's Ubisoft brand game, but it attracted both returning veterans to the game, people that have played it for a long time. They saw this brand new, fresh creator, you know, really picking up some steam and getting thousands and thousands of viewers. And they're like, you know what, I kind of fancy playing the game again. So you get people that come back to it. Also, people that already watched him prior are now like, what's this game? I want to try it. And it, again, pushes the sales of these games up like through the roof. As clips spread across TikTok and YouTube Shorts, Ubisoft benefited from a surge of renewed interest in their game that had already been on the market for several years. So it was actually the point where when any game releases, excuse me, you can see like a spike when it releases, right? Everybody's like, oh, the new Grand Theft Auto comes out in November. It's going to have massive sales in November. December, still pretty good. By January, it will come down quite a bit. You got people that pick it up a couple months later. So when you go into about a year, 2 years, 3 years after release, its sales are nowhere near like release month. However, this was the effect with like the Rainbow Six Siege and what we will talk about in a second, Clash Royale. These games actually had another peak as big as their initial launch, purely down to the content being created, which again, mind-blowing how big that actually went. So there was another case study with this. So that's Clash Royale. And I personally have played Clash Royale for a long time. It's actually given me a 10 years of playing badge, which I thought was a bit mean of them, reminding me that I'm getting older and I haven't changed my games. However, Jynxzi started playing it, and I thought this was interesting because this was how I saw him, because it just showed up on my TikTok feed like a few months ago or something. But he returned to streaming that game in 2025. Millions of regular viewers were exposed to Clash Royale overnight, some that had never played it before. It's a free mobile game you can get on your phone, and they've always been really, really popular. But the demographic for the game was like, it's out, everybody's got it, everybody download it. And then after a couple of years, people got bored of it because it's been out for 10 years. So why would you have that much interest in it? However, that Jynxzi stream and the content going out there actually had a dramatic increase on the returning players and the game's revenue, because although the game is free to play, it has battle passes, you know, microtransactions, as every mobile game does, and, you know, whatever way they can to try and get hold of your credit card and go, you'd like some gems? Yes, please. So they did that. And obviously you got supported creator codes in there too. So yeah, this game, Clash Royale, actually had its biggest peak. I think the reference was that it made it to its highest ever revenue point about 6 or 7 years after its initial release. Something along those lines. About that, yeah. So you couldn't imagine releasing a game in like 10 years ago, and then all of a sudden, on its like seventh, eighth year of its life cycle, when everybody's got it, it's been dying off. It then all of a sudden does record-breaking numbers. You think, okay, well, it's not new. So, and that's where this like creator marketing comes from. Like one really, really big creator managed to research this game. It also did spark a little bit of controversy, which is how I heard about it. So Supercell are the developers, and when this new level of like, oh, we've hit our best ever year for revenue. We're back up making ridiculous money for it. The game's doing record numbers. They didn't actually acknowledge the creators responsible for it, like at all. And they were just like, oh yeah, we just happened to magically, without doing anything different, do 5x our revenue and player base in the span of a month from nothing, as they were seemingly going for it. But then the community that watch and play the game because of the streamer made it quite apparent to the developers, like, hey, you need to kind of acknowledge that the creators have brought us here. Like they come along and say, I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in this game until I saw this, or I wasn't going to play the game. I've just started doing it because I want to play it while I watch the stream. And people really wanted Jynxzi, for example, to get recognition for that work, because it's not like it's ever really a common thing that a product 10 years after it's making new peaks. What have we got there, Charlie? With the clips sent out, streamers tend to hire clip farmers, they do, who pretty much boost it with engaging titles and sped up short form TikToks, which are easy to consume from what I've seen lately. Exactly that. And that's how people like Jynxzi and I think CaseOh also got their biggest growth, was from TikTok and I'm guessing clip farmers. I think Jynxzi actually said, this is not part of the presentation, but I think Jynxzi actually said that his breakthrough point as a content creator was actually not a video that he posted directly, but someone like a clip farmer did, because it's your content, it goes out there, anyone can clip it and post it, etc., as long as it's not copyrighted, of course. But someone just took a funny moment from his stream that was already on the internet, and they just like repurposed it, put it up on TikTok themselves, and they got tens of millions of views. And all of a sudden he's like, whoa, my Twitch demographic here has just gone through the roof. And that's led to such a big, strong audience with this as well. The Clash Royale episode highlights a critical lesson, though. Studios fail to publicly acknowledge creators who drive their success, risk damaging those relationships and the communities built around them. Largely, games are still popular after a long time if there's a community built around them, if that makes sense. So you could think of games like Call of Duty or, again, Fortnite. Fortnite's been out for nearly 10 years now, for example, was released in 2017. It is still quite popular, not as much as what it was, but people that play it with their friends and have a community, watch streamers with it, that community built keeps people coming back. If that community didn't exist at all, and you could only ever play it solo, etc., and nobody ever streamed it, the game probably would have died out a lot earlier than what it did. But I think it's a really interesting topic to see how, again, one creator has managed to completely turn around these two products here. And to not be given credit is a shame. It really is a shame. But other developers are coming out, like AAA developers are coming out and saying, we want to work closer to creators, and there's reward systems for such things like supporter creator code. If someone was to purchase like gems in a game, or credits on their account in the game so they can buy new skins or new weapon wraps or anything along those lines, the creators, if the code is in there, get like a 5% cut, whatever individual like revenue share system any given developer has. So there's reward perks to it, and of course they can do other sponsorships in relationship to it. But it's good that bigger developers are very slowly starting to acknowledge how much of an impact that big creators can have on their product. Again, Supercell with Clash Royale, not a small development team at all. They've been going with Clash of Clans and everything else for well over 10 years, and a company that can make multiple millions of dollars per day from free games on their phones. So what does this mean for studios? The role of a creator differs significantly depending on the studio size and the campaign goals. Both indie and AAA teams must think strategically about how creators fit into their broader marketing approach and begin building those relationships before the launch day. Again, the more bigger companies acknowledge it, I think the better it will be. As we were saying before, it's a trusted relationship with these streamers. They're people. It's not a big brand marketing thing that's being shoved in your face. And that trust is really good. And the more developers that work with it, the better. Indie studios, they build authentic creator relationships early. So you can DM them and say like, hey, I really like your video or your puzzle videos or horror game videos. I happen to be working on a new horror game, for example, and they say, hey, would you like to have a preview of it? Would you like to get early access to it so you can stream it before release day? So you can have a free copy, which is, as we're saying here, they send preview keys to a wide range of smaller channels, encourage organic, unsponsored coverage. So they're just saying, hey, go check it out. If you want to tell me it's bad, sure. They obviously don't want you to do that, but it's unpaid, but you get a real reaction to it. So you can come into it and say, I really like this game. This horror game was really good, but this bit was bad about it. But that level of like trust and like genuine feedback to it, it's not paid for. It's like listening to your friends, like when you go hang out and they want to tell you honestly if a game's good or not, and they do. And that level is just really, really good to see. AAA publishers coordinate sponsored campaigns alongside traditional, PR, provide creators with early access and exclusive reveals. They develop long-term creator ambassador programs, such as those partner programs like we were saying with 2K, and there are many, many others out there. And they invite top tier creators to exclusive previews and launch events. So that's the whole, Epic Games flew me out to try this brand new product or this brand new thing. 2K, invited me out to see the new NBA or WWE game, whatever it is they're working on and trying to promote at the time. And again, these are good ways to get that in there. Obviously, if they can be favorable to the creators, you're getting a good relationship with them, and then it kind of works harmoniously. But more often than not, you'll see like creators as well still having to complain, like the dev team doesn't listen, and the dev team. This is the back and forth, because a lot of them have good points on both parts. Dev teams know not to listen to necessarily just take everything a streamer says or a content creator says at face value, going like, hey, I know you think this is what should happen in the game, but I'm like, this does it, development wise, it might not be the best idea. So there's that level that has to be respected. But at the same time, content creators know the community of the game 1,000 times better than the developers. I mean, if you're working a normal development, like say, why say normal? If you work a traditional 9 to 5 on a AAA game, we'll go with, and your team has 100 employees working on, or even a couple thousand employees, say Epic Games, for example, it's unlikely that like working 5 days a week, 40-hour weeks, whatever, that once you finish working on Fortnite for 40 hours a week, that you're going to go home and that's going to be the game you play. It's more likely you go, I'm going to do something else, or I'll play a different game. But that relationship is give and take, and I think both sides need to be listened to. And it's the changing demographic that allows creators to be able, I don't know, like to have a stronger voice in it. That Jynxzi is leading the current charge with it, which I personally think is a really good thing to see. So I'm going to go into media packages, making it easier for creators. So studios make it as easy as possible for creators to cover their games. It's usually like an email, because most content creators you see have like a business email. You've probably seen it in their like bio or something along those lines on their TikTok or somewhere where you can just send them an email, and developers just basically go, here's access to a game. Here's our trailer. Here's the link. Do you want a free key? Just email me back. I'll send you over a free key, that sort of thing. So professional press kit ensures that information is accurate, it's on brand, and saves creators valuable time. There's no point in waffling in the emails. They're going to have a lot of things to read through as well, because every indie developer now is starting to reach out to creators and go, hey, would you play my game? I don't have a budget, but I can give you a high five. So, concise, eye-catchy as well. Like, the developers need to make it appealing for the streamer to do, because for a streamer's point of view, you want to play things that, one, you like, and two, your audience would like. So you can't just shove anything in front of them. So getting a point where you can go, okay, this game looks good, or just filtering through, it's the main part. It's an important filtering process to make sure that you get the right kind of content out there for the right creators. As I was saying, bit of research is a good way to do it, especially again for independent developers. If everybody in this school was to start working on a game together, we're not going to have 50,000 for an advertising budget. We could just sit here though, scroll TikTok for an hour or two or a couple hours, or same with live stream platforms, and then start to look at games in similar niches. If we're doing, like we said, a horror game, we could look at horror games on TikTok and then look at the people that are doing it continually, like say Phasmophobia streamers or similar, and go, right, I got a brand new game. Would you mind playing a demo of it? It lasts about 30 minutes and we'll give you a big shout out. You can have a free copy and give away a few things. All sorts of stuff like that. So stream keyed early access, the essential starting point, allowing creators to play before or directly on launch. Branding assets, logos, fonts, and brand guidelines to ensure consistent on-screen presentation. Also, with a lot of big projects, you get NDAs, which are non-disclosure agreements. If it's a big AAA game, there's usually an NDA. So it's like, hey, you can play GTA 6 in September. It's going to be a few months before the public launch, but you can come record everything in September. So you have it ready for release day or whatever. They give a date, usually before release. And they're like, okay, a week before release, you can start putting out your first bit of gameplay. And those videos always do well because it has every bit of traffic in the world looking for that. And because it's free to access for everybody else. If any of us look at it, we're going to want to go see what GTA actually looks like, especially if it comes out like a week before it's released. You're like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch the video. Let's see what they thought. And then you see the creators talk about it. So gameplay information, you get talking points to it. Same way with that. You can go, hey, here's a product. Could you please mention this bit? Or, say, hey, it's still in development. So if it's buggy, don't highlight it. Just say, hey, if there are bugs, it's in the works. We're fixing it, basically. So trailers and screenshots, high quality assets ready to use in thumbnails, social posts, and video intros. So if you have a title for your game, for example, just give them a PNG of the title so they can slap it on their videos easily, save them time. Any sort of media kit along those lines, any logos, branding, whatever. Give it to them up front. Sometimes you can just like zip up a little folder and go, hey, here you go. It's a goodie bag. Use as much or as little as you want. So embargo dates, this is what we're saying about the NDAs. Clear guidelines on when content can go live to coordinate launch day impact. So in other words, you can say, hey, on Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time, we're going to launch this big new update. Every creator in this program has an invite to do it. And at 8 p.m., you can all like launch your first videos. And to be fair, I've seen it myself because I've obviously, and I'm sure anybody with gaming has sort of like kept up with it and had a little look, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, all these creators all of a sudden have just suddenly posted, brand new videos for it, which I think is really interesting. A case study of how a studio approaches the creator is when Tiny Build, who made Hello Neighbor. Oh, I like Hello Neighbor. I haven't played it. I've watched Markiplier and other people play it, and I will buy it. Kept publicly trying to get MatPat. I've heard of him. Make a game theory video on their new content, which brought negative audience attention, which is really interesting. Yeah, so sometimes it can go the other way too. Sometimes it can completely go the other way, and you might go, oh my God, this guy's playing the game. But then what if they decide they don't like it and start, kind of bringing out the bad thing to it? The audience doesn't connect with it. You're like, oh dear, maybe that was the wrong kind of attention. So I love the case studies for it, and I'm all ears to hear anything you've got that's in there. To be fair, there's a few other ways we can talk about viral marketing that maybe aren't related to games, but there's some really fun ones to it. Last thing for the media package, you need contact details. No point in just shoving all your information and going, here's our new game, here's our goodie bag, enjoy, and then just go, oh, yeah, forgot to tell you how to contact us or who to contact. Yeah, so if you have any questions, guess the email, which does happen. Not the best, but it does happen. There's basically content creator pricing as well. So, for example, a smaller creator that maybe has 10 viewers, 20 viewers, or averages a couple hundred might be free. You just give them a free thing. Bigger creators like Jynxzi, the deals are huge. I remember one creator at the time specifically. I remember seeing them show up on the For You page, and then they were a Fortnite creator when it first came out. Name was Muselk, I think it was. And there's some sort of like podcast thing, which is where I saw it. They were talking about like a brand deal he got, and I think it was supposed to be with EA, and he didn't want to do the game. So he turned it down because he said it's not the right fit for my audience. I don't worry about the paycheck for it. I'm just not going to take this one, which I think was a good decision because you don't want to shove the wrong product in front of someone else for a payday. But apparently the budget for that was about $50,000 for a 10-minute YouTube video because the amount of views this guy was getting, like a couple million views per video, like maybe 3, 4, up to 10 million views. And they're like, yeah, if you could do that, we'll give you 50 grand. Because if you think about it, how many views would you genuinely get, especially engaged views as well, like not just, oh, the TV's on in the background, I'm gonna make a cup of tea or something while the ad's playing. This is talking like engaged millions of views. Like that's a decent price budget for it. So again, smaller creators receive a complimentary game key. So hey, free game, enjoy. May get early access or like beta access, motivated by fresh content for their own channel because these guys are smaller. They want to find content, get it out there, and they're hungry to grow their own content and become a mid-tier, big-tier creator. So they're all for it. They're like, yeah, of course, give me something that's exclusive. Give me something new that's going to drive views to my channel. And it works kind of both ways that way. Both sides of that party benefit, even in a free model. Often deliver the most authentic, enthusiastic coverage because they're hungry. They want to earn, they want to learn. Mid-tier creators may negotiate affiliate or revenue share arrangements. So that's maybe, hey, if you advertise our game, we'll make you a part of our partner program where you get 5% of like in-game purchase revenue if people are using your code. Early access and co-marketing opportunities, strong community trust with niche genre audiences, excellent value for targeted campaigns, top tier creators like we're saying with Muselk. You got to bring some money. So paid sponsorships, potentially tens or hundreds of thousands. Yeah, which is again wild when you think that all of these creators would have started as we are here, sat in our rooms at a desk with a camera, a microphone, or anything along those lines, and go, "Hey, yeah, now you can pay me like 50,000 for one YouTube video." Again, wild how far that's gone. Integrated campaigns, activations around major launches, exclusive reveals, ambassador deals, and long-term partnerships, maximum reach, but require a careful return on ROI or return on interest assessment. So, why creators outperform traditional adverts? Traditional advertising, it interrupts entertainment. It's a 30 to 60-second exposure window. It's passive. It's one-way messaging. You don't have the conversation to it. It's just, hey, buy our game. I know you're making tea in the background. Pay attention to the TV. Please buy our game. We spent a lot of money on this ad. But the creator marketing, on the flip side to that, aren't going to ignore it. They're locked into it. They're paying attention. They can ask questions. It's not a one-sided conversation with how to market the game anymore. It's just, hey, what are you playing today? That looks really cool. What's this game called? Do you mind if you let me know what it is? How much is it? They can ask all their questions and get there. It's a conversation. It's new marketing. It's interactive. It's no longer one-way marketing. It's interactive. You get to pick up and engage with it as much as you want. And people that are engaging with it in that form are just going to be so much more engaged and likely to participate in the event or purchase the product if their needs are met, basically. So creators are the entertainment, hours of genuine exposure, live audiences, interaction through chat and questions and answers, clips continue circulating, as Charlie said here, with TikTok, clip farmers out there, YouTube shorts. Long after the streams go, those clips can go viral for days, weeks, months. You see games come back up. Audiences actively choose to watch this. Instead of a 30-second commercial, a viewer might spend 3 hours watching a creator genuinely enjoy a game, asking questions in chat, watching authentic reactions, and forming their own opinion, not being told by the TV what to do or whatever traditional marketing means there was, or even like a YouTube ad. So we got the resulting clips extend campaign reach far beyond the original stream date, creating lasting marketing assets at no additional cost. There's trust, there's authenticity, and there's longevity of it. So let's get to the last little bits. In summary, influencer marketing is no longer an optional way to market your game. You need to do it. The game industry has undergone a fundamental shift, especially since COVID, with all, like we're saying, the massive explosion of content creators out there. Influencers are now central to how games are discovered, discussed, purchased, and having communities built around those games and products and brands, etc. Their importance is only set to grow as audiences continue to migrate to online platforms. As we were saying at the start of the presentation, younger demographic gets everything from the internet. I don't watch TV for myself, for example. I'm in the millennial bracket, but I don't watch TV. I get my news from, my phone, and I read a web article, or I will find it on YouTube. If I want to find a video or a clip of something, etc., I tend not to watch traditional TV. So as that continues to go in that direction, which all trends suggest it is, you gotta really start to move with that times, and developers are catching up. So yeah, you build awareness, reach audiences organically through trusted voices in every genre. You foster active player bases that sustain engagement long after launch. You increase your sales, because you got honest feedback, honest reviews. Convert viewer enthusiasm into purchases with proven, measurable ROI or return on interest. Sustainable engagement, keep communities active, and revive older titles such as Rainbow Six Siege and Clash Royale ongoing with their creator relationships. You build a community about it, like what game are we playing today? You want to do it with your friends. It's a social time at the end of the day, and it's basically that this is social advertising in this sense. So for indie studios, creator relationships can determine whether a game succeeds or goes unnoticed entirely. For AAA publishers, creators have become a non-negotiable part of every major integrated campaign. So that is it for right there. There is one other story that I did want to share, like just as a little fun bit in the end there. There's a game that's come out, I think about just shy of 2 weeks ago. I think it's about 2 weeks ago. It will be 2 weeks on Friday, I think it released. I don't know if anybody has heard of it. Has anybody heard of the game Mecha Chameleon? I think that's how you pronounce it. But Mecha Chameleon has recently come out, and you've heard the name, yeah. So I see this everywhere. Like I had never heard of the game, and then like a few friends were like, "Oh, I keep seeing these clips of people playing Mecha Chameleon," and basically it's a hide and seek game, like a prop hunt game. You're given a little like default character. He's like a little blobby character, and the goal is you run around, you try and hide him. You're like a default like all white, no face, kind of like masky character, and you run it around. You can choose poses for it to stand in to try and hide it. And then the fun part of the game that made it really unique is the fact that you then like can jump and stick yourself to a wall, like you're on the wall. And yeah, your friend streamed it to you. Yeah, exactly. And you just paint like the wall onto you so you camouflage yourself. But that game has gone so viral on the internet. I can't load my phone without seeing 10 videos of Mecha Chameleon currently. It's everywhere. And there's so many views coming in from that game. And what's interesting about it is the game has been out for, like I said, I think about 12-ish days at this point. And I have got unofficial sale results for it. They might be official. I've seen them in passing, but I didn't want to add them to the presentation because obviously this is all brand new and I didn't want to throw it in there without verifying this exactly what it is. But apparently Mecha Chameleon in that 10-ish days has sold over 7 million copies. It's £5 ago, or like I think about $6, but it sold over 7 million copies in like 10 days. Which is, I think, generates £35 million or like 42 million US dollars for that game, which is absolutely insane. And what makes it even more insane is that game is made by 2 people, not a big development team, 2 people. Like one artist, one programmer, for example, the 2 of them made it. And now it's generated $42 million in revenue for those 2 people in 10 days. All because this game is going absolutely everywhere. And you see CaseOh, Jynxzi, every creator, Markiplier, whoever playing it. And it's getting millions and millions and millions of views. And people are like, oh my God, that looks really cool. And then you can play it with your friends. And that community building side of it has just gone absolutely viral. And it is possibly the most viral game out there. It's the same with Schedule 1. It did, again, sold like 16 million copies or something like that at $20 ago from one person. And you think this is games that don't get traditional advertising yet becomes definitely in the higher end of most profitable releases. Like 2025, Schedule 1 must have been was one of the biggest games out there in the world at the time, like outperforming AAA games made by bigger studios. And it's just one person that made it, who didn't go out and spend advertising budget on it. It was just like, I have a cool idea, and then it just happened to go viral. But it's the power of the content creators to do it. It can be life-changing. It can completely change the course of someone's development career. As I'd never heard of the developers of Mecha Chameleon before this. They had like 4 other indie games out before it. One's like an anomaly game, I think, based on penguins. But yeah, then all of a sudden this painting game has just taken off. And I think I heard that it was only made in like 2 months or something like that. So they made it in a really short time frame, like 2 months of development, 2 people. And then all of a sudden it's become the most viral game on the internet and they're millionaires, which is absolutely crazy. So that was my little fun fact one for the end there. Is there any questions for this lecture, by the way? Because I'm aware there's a little pop-up. I don't know if it will kick us out or not, and if so, goodbye. But yeah, any questions over the topic? I hope you've enjoyed it. I very much find this topic quite interesting, to be fair, because I've seen it from my own point of view, and it's something I've sort of jumped into. So yeah, if there's any questions, hit me up, let me go, and we'll see what we can do. If you just want to chit chat about it, that's also fine too. But I think I can end the recording there, he says. I can't wait for it to be just a recording of my face, as I believe this will possibly go up onto the YouTube channel.
I enjoyed it.